Okay, so now let's do the last task. So here we can list the task, change status, delete it. So let's go to add tasks. First thing I'm going to do is to change this highlighted. That is kind of not showing up properly. So we're going to change the add task. So we're going to go to page.tsx, but before that, I'm going to address the problem in layout a little bit. So there's kind of highlight that I don't need. Okay, so it's sort of hinder hide the highlight that I have here. So let's take the background out. Okay, so now when we look at add tags, okay, on this page the idea would be we're going to type in task information and date, and then when it add to the task list and on Redis, just like what it did before with the local storage. So let's go to the page.tsx. Okay, so the UI is pretty going to stay the same. What I'm going to change here is that we have title, we have due date, so that's good. We have also have router. Okay, so when we submit form, so actually everything pretty much gonna stay the same, except that now we need to know who's the user of this. So I would need the user of this task. Before we don't need it because we already have the task item here. So I'm going to add a task user state, just like last time. I'm going to put up the data up from the local storage. TSK is error. Okay, we're just going to do use state, and this can be just like the other page, string or now. Oops, it's a template. And I'm going to initialize this to now. Okay, just so that if we don't if we can't load it, it will be now. Okay, so since this again is a client component, I'm going to do use effect, and this is going to run at the beginning when the component is loading. Then we're going to again declare a function. Okay, I just sort of like doing the structure before, so that I don't miss the parentheses or the curly bracket and stuff. So again, const user. This is the same as the other page. So we read user from the local storage, and then we set task user with that information. Okay, so before we get here, I just sort of make sure that if you follow the step, the task user should be there. So we're going to do that. Then the next thing that we're going to change is here. So here we check if there's no title, there's no due date, we're not adding anything. So now I'm just going to avoid the case where people log out and somebody just type the path to add page without passing through the front page first. So we won't have the user information, the type user information there. So I'm going to do this as well. So if there's no task user, we just return. Okay. And since this is going to take a long time, so I'm going to use the same approach as last time, where we're going to create a state to control whether we is submitting, just like it's loading. So are we submitting? If it is, then we won't do another submission. And also after we finish submitting, then after we finish submitting, then we're going to have the page refresh, okay, because the state is changed. Wait, give a use เฮ้อวงเล็บค่ะ okay. So now that we are here, I'm actually going to delete all this because we don't need this anymore. I'm going to keep only the last one. Okay, so once we're done, we're going to push it through the dashboard. So now, before we do anything, I'm going to try set is submitting to true because we are starting the process. And then now we go to again call our post. So again fish. And give me a sec. So this is handle submit. This is handle submit. So it would be okay. It should be okay if I do this. It should be okay if I make this into a synchronous function, so that I can do a wait. Okay. So now const res equal await. Again we fetch. Okay. Fetch what? We're going to fetch the task list so that I get. Let me see. I should have that somewhere. Let's do this. Where's my fish? There. No. Here. Sorry. Because they are all page.tsx. There. So we need a task list so that we can append the new task to it. So next I'm going to check that if it's not okay, we throw error, which again going to be caught later on down here. Okay, we failed to load tasks. So if it's not error, it will go to here. So we're going to do const current task, which is of the task type array. Okay. And now that we have task type, we're going to create a new task and add it to the array. This is going to be of the type task type because it's the same type as the array. This is going to be an object. So ID, here I just generated with the date time, which is the easiest one. Pretty the same scheme as we did before. So this will just give you the current time. Okay. So we have ID, we have title, we have due date. Since I'm using the same value, um, uh, the same pattern, I'm using the same pattern. So the value going to be for example, this value due date here going to go to tax type dot due date. The any status. The initial status would be pending, just like what we did last time. Okay, so that's our object. So ID, title, due date, and status. So then let's add it. I will use new tax. Okay, so we're going to need everything from the previous tag, and then add the new tags. So that will give us a new array. So now we can post this information back into Redis. Okay. Fetch going to need the URL and the header. Okay. And I'm going to do this again because in our post, if you remember, we pass in the username as well in that endpoint. And we're going to do the same thing, method. It's a post header. You need to tell sorry, not has to be colon. It's a JSON, so no assignment. So you need to do content type and application select JSON. Okay, and then that's a string. This also a string. There. So basically, this pattern, this is actual TypeScript object. This is a TypeScript object as well, but then this is going to be object within the object. It doesn't make sense. And then we're going to encrypt this as a JSON. So body need that JSON.stringify, and just like the other page, we need task and updated task. Wait a minute, I don't need that, I need this. Okay, so what we have to put as a header would be method. Sorry, what we have to give to fetch would be the method, and then the header, and then the body of the request. Then let here we wait for the response, which would come up in pause.let. So if this doesn't come back, or it's not okay, we again throw the error. Okay. If it is okay, if it's already okay, then we going to say set submitting So before we come here, we do set submitting true. So actually, I'm going to do this. If we finish everything before we get, oh, we have to do here. So we're going to set submitting false before we push, and here we're going to set submitting to false as well. Okay. We're going to do some alert. ALERT. Submitting a new text. Okay, that's better. Okay, so if there's an error, we just put it to the console, may pop up, and then say that we're not submitting it anymore, so that when we can come back, we can do another submission. Here, if we done, when we done, I'm actually going to go back to the dashboard so that the router.push dashboard. Okay. Let's see how it's going. I think the rest I don't have to do anything because it's pretty much the same as the previous flow. So add tags, let me check. Okay. So I'm going to do tag for upload. Okay. And I'm going to upload it within tomorrow. Let's add it. Okay, now it's go to the list. Should be. Let's check Redis. This is for Suganya. So let me check that. Did it go in? Yes, it is. So now we have a new task going in. So let move around and see. So you would notice that there's some breaking here. There's some blinking here. So that's because we wait for loading, and part of the page is already show up and the others is not showing up. So we're going to fix that later on. Okay, I'm going to stop this video right here and we do the last part later.